Hello and welcome to the Hoop Troop podcast. I am Matt O'Connor, and joining me as they do on all of my shows is my cousin Luke Drobner.
What's up, guys?
And my brother Mike O'Connor.
Hey.
And it's been a couple weeks since we've talked. March Madness has been going on. Luke, unfortunately, as the Purdue fan in the family, you probably are not thrilled with how March Madness is going. For different reasons than me. Mine is just because my bracket was terrible. Yours is because your school actually had a chance, and then St. Peter's, the Peacocks.
On National Peacock Day too. It was the worst. We were down the whole game. St. Peter's just looked much better than us. They hit pull-up jumpers, and we can't do that. And there was no chance we could keep up with their guards. Our 7'4" center struggled to score points being guarded by someone who is literally like a foot shorter than him.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
And our absolute monster star, Jaden Ivey, became enraged in the first half. The coach literally put him on a timeout. He was like, sit down on the bench. Don't talk to me. Don't look at me. You're done for this half. So he came back and played a little bit better in the second half.
I was going to say, he pulled it together. But yeah, I mean, it was just all around a slow game from Purdue.
And
we shot – go, Mike.
No, you go.
Free throws. Our team is built upon the fact that we should be getting fouled literally every time we dump it into the post. And St. Peter's did not foul us, and we shot 15 free throws. Whereas in the other games that we won,
foul you. They just didn't get called.
Yes. Yeah. Refs terrible that game.
I hate to do that because it feels like I'm taking it away from St. Peter's. It was pretty awesome, their story. It's a shame that it ran through you, but that was not officiated well at all.
The thing that bugs me the most probably about Purdue losing to them is they got whooped by North. Don't go out that way. Purdue loses in vain. At that point,
I mean, kind of. They beat Kentucky too, though. They beat two of the best offensive teams in college basketball.
To go out in a whimper like that, I know that it's amazing and they tried really hard, but damn.
I mean, the magic just runs out at some point.
Keep it close. Anyway, I at least from the Purdue standpoint, and as it relates to the NBA, I thought the whole season was a Jaden Ivey coming out party, but the March Madness games in of itself were a serious put this guy on the map type of thing.
He almost drilled that three to tie it.
Oh, when it came off the front of the rim and it bounced high, I was like, it's going in. We're going to overtime.
I totally thought it was going in.
It really crushed my soul. I was actually at my roommate's family home, just 10 miles away from our apartment downtown. And his whole family was there watching us stressed out. We're getting emotional. We're on the verge of crying. We're holding our heads. I stood up when he shot it and I was like, it's going in.
It looked good.
It didn't go in and I just crumbled.
I will say if they got that to overtime, they would have won. It felt like they had the momentum towards the end. The other thing though is that foul at the end of the game. When he dove and fouled St. Peter's with 2 seconds left.
Oh, Gillis. Yeah.
Can't do that. All they had to do was let the shot clock expire or force a bad shot.
That's what I mean. I was there's 2 seconds left.
You don't dive
on the floor, moving away from the ball. Just let him chuck one. Right. We're going to grab a rebound.
Yeah.
So
tough
bad
loss.
Move. I personally like Mason Gillis the whole season.
Yeah.
So at the beginning of the season, he wasn't starting. And I was like, why don't we just start Mason Gillis? He's our best glue guy. And then all of a sudden he starts starting, and I was like,
tough loss. That said, though, I'm happy with the Final Four. I got to be honest. When's the last time the Final Four has been big name schools, legit basketball programs, all 4 teams? I mean, obviously, we've never seen Duke play North Carolina in the tournament ever, and not once have they ever played each other in the tournament. So this is.
Wow.
And in Coach K's last year, I'm secretly happy that ended up lining up.
I think it might be the best narrative in college basketball history. You have Coach K's last year, UNC's first new head coach since Roy Williams retired. UNC crushed them in their last Coach K regular season matchup, so it's a revenge game. They've never met in the tournament. I think it is going to be the most highly anticipated game. So
I think both of these games are going to be really good.
Yeah. And I was going to say the stars are kind of aligning. Speaking of narrative things, and like, I don't necessarily know that I'm rooting for Duke. I definitely don't dislike this team as much as I've disliked Duke teams in the past. But it's just fitting that Coach K's first NCAA championship win was over Roy Williams coaching Kansas. Now he has to beat North Carolina and then potentially, and I'm going to assume most likely, going to have to play Kansas again in the final. It's just like kind of fitting. It just feels like that, like you said, the narratives are just all there for this Duke team. That said, though, like I think I'm rooting for Carolina. It would be pretty awesome if it would be fitting if they sent Coach K packing.
Yeah, we'll see.
I think both these games are going to be unreal. I think Kansas Villanova is just like a classic two good schools. I don't think Kansas or Villanova necessarily have like a number one guy,
right?
But they're just well-rounded, well-coached teams. Whereas Duke and North Carolina, I think it's star-studded. I think Caleb Love is going to pop off. He
did get really hot in the last two games. He just has absolute heat checks.
He does. He gets hot.
To beat UCLA, he got hot, and then he was just absolutely. I mean, he was like a big reason. I mean, Baycott was definitely a huge reason they beat St. Peter's, but I mean, Love is just he's just such a firecracker.
He is. I think he's a lot like Buddy Hield. That's kind of who he reminds me of.
Yeah,
he's not really a driver or a scorer where like he'll get to his spots in the mid range and then pull up for a jumper. He's more just like he chucks threes, but he's so good at chucking. It's like
he just chucks. But that's the thing. When he's off, he's off. I mean,
The
one interesting thing right? about North Carolina too is like they started the season so slow, and they've been one of the hottest teams. Like the last 15 games of the season, it's been all North Carolina. There's a reason they beat Duke at Duke to end the year, and then
I just think it's a new coach. They didn't get any top recruits this year, things like that. So
yeah, I mean they've definitely exceeded expectations.
They pulled it together, 100%.
But then I think that
they're not really an 8 seed.
They're not really an 8, excuse me. I think you look then at the other side of the bracket, though, against Kansas and Villanova. Villanova now without Justin Moore, who did he officially tear his Achilles?
I don't know.
It totally looked like that. It looked like the Durant injury.
I feel like we haven't seen that news.
I was like checking Twitter yesterday and I didn't see anything, but maybe it came out today and I just missed it. But yeah, it's just sad because that was like right at the end of the game. And like you never want to see a team like lose a big part of their rotation and then go in, like I just have a feeling they're going to get slaughtered by Kansas because Kansas was already bigger and like fairly deeper than that Villanova team. And now like they lose one of their better players.
Villanova's so well-rounded though. Like there's so many guys who just like, it's such a well-coached team. There are 4 guys who are scoring in double digits. I guess you take out Justin Moore now, right? But there are guys coming off that bench I feel like can make an impact. They might score, 2 points a game right now, but I think some of them are capable for going for 10 in the right situations.
I also just think, and the other fun thing about this Final Four is the coaching, but I think Jay Wright has just proven in the last 10 to 15 years that, he is one of these elite coaches. And he's shown that he can make things work with like lesser rosters. Like even those Villanova teams that won, like it's not like they had like the most, like the best NBA talent or like the best stars or whatever. They're just well-coached teams, good systems. Like Archie Diacono was the leader of those teams and like he's barely on a roster now.
I will say like, I think Villanova could have been punched in the mouth very quickly by any of the matchups they've had so far. I really do. Like, I know it's an 11 seed Michigan, but I think that could have gone if that Villanova team doesn't show up and Jay Wright doesn't have them ready to show up and like get an early lead against Houston. I think that goes south really quickly. So I'm kind of giving credit to Villanova that they've shown up and they've decided to really.
Yes and no. Houston didn't show up. They could not score. I mean, they were chucking and missing. And so like, there is a degree of that. And that I think also it speaks volumes to the coaching and the kids on the team. Like if you can show up and just, get it done however you can, but like they did almost choke that away. Houston cut it to 2. And so like, yeah, I don't know. They got through it. You squeak by. It's no different than, we've been talking about St. Peter's beating teams. Like you just got to show up and get it done.
I want to make a point here and say that Purdue beat Villanova and North Carolina earlier in the year. So the only team I was really worried about was Duke, and then we lost to St. Peter's.
I didn't see any of that coming. I didn't get a single Final Four team right. So
Neither did I.
Yeah.
I had Auburn, Gonzaga, Purdue, and maybe I had Kansas, actually.
I had Gonzaga, Purdue, Tennessee, and Iowa. And
can we talk about the Tennessee guard? What's his name? Kennedy Chandler?
Yeah, he's really good.
He looked really good. He's just
that said,
small.
They fell apart.
Yeah, they did. I mean, it's college. It's what it is.
I guess, but still.
He's small and he's not a great shooter. That's what concerns me the most.
Yeah, I mean, he projects to be a late first-round pick, but the problem is his negatives are definitely the scary negatives when you look at the draft. Like it is his shooting, it is his size, it is like his, general offensive rating. Like, yeah, he's great defensively. And he can prove to be a motor on that end of the court, but you worry about that in the NBA. And so I think it's easier to get a guy to be able to play like at least league average NBA defense than it is the other way around and get him to play league average offense.
Sure.
Then again, he did look really good. So
he looked really
he showed
good
signs. And if he has the right, what's the right word? If he has like the dedication and commitment to actually improve there, then yeah, you can, especially with the right, if you land in the right system, which like, if you're getting picked in the late first round, these teams are going to be able to help you.
The right system.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not like you're going to land and like be forced to save a franchise and like not receive the help and development you need. So
sure,
maybe, yeah, I could totally see it.
All right, so on Tankathon, I sim the lottery.
Oh God!
First overall, we're going with Chet to the Pistons. Second, Jabari Smith to the Spurs. Paolo to the Pacers third, and then Ivy to the Kings fourth. Keegan Murray to the.
I hate to see that. I hate to see that for Jaden Ivey.
I hate to see that. I want him to get drafted by the Spurs.
I also don't think that's a great fit for him. Like I would think that De'Aaron Fox needs the ball in his hand. Ivy's kind of similar.
You're talking about the Kings. I thought you were talking about the Spurs.
No. Yeah.
Ivy doesn't go, Mike.
Is Chet Holmgren really the consensus number one? Like,
I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know that he is, Luke.
He is 100%. I think he does everything. The game that Gonzaga lost, they were calling some of the most ridiculous calls on him, and it forced him to sit out of that game. If he was in that game, Gonzaga would have won. He makes a huge impact on both sides of the floor. He's not physically strong, but you don't necessarily need to be. He's never going to guard like a Joel Embiid or a Giannis, but he has the upwards potential of like a Kevin Durant.
I guess I have to wait and see.
Does.
I don't have this vision. I feel like
he's so agile for being that big.
I feel like
he has a good handle.
He looks sickly and he's going to like tear his ACL.
That's obviously the risk.
Look at the comparisons between him and Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant in college was like the skinniest, lankiest looking guy. And he dropped like 30 on everybody playing at Texas. He has some of the most ridiculous NCAA tournament games. Just like Chet in the first round, it was like a 20-20, 5-5-5 game.
Yeah.
It was unreal. So yeah.
I see, here's the thing. It's not that I don't doubt the potential, and that ceiling is obviously there. But the concerns are there as well, whereas you look at guys who are essentially playing the same position in Jabari Smith and Paolo, and it's like they scare me less. Like I think they're probably because they're less likely to have that like significant injury or just be so net negative on defense.
Have you seen what Jabari Smith looks like? He's 6'10", 210.
Yeah, he's got a little more.
200.
Something about him looks a little more put together than Chet. Chet feels.
Paolo's build to me, and the way that he's been playing in the tournament, you can see that he'll be ready to kind of bang in the NBA. Not necessarily the best. Like I don't think that's true. I don't think he can really shoot. So like I think that's an issue.
My biggest issue with Paolo is that I think he projects more to be like a Carmelo Anthony than he does to be a LeBron James. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I would jump at the opportunity for either of those.
I think Paulo is going to have a fantastic career. I think he's probably going to be an All NBA player at some point, but he's an elite second star, not valued first.
See,
he's not the best player on a championship team ever.
I don't know if that's necessarily true. I think it's the issue with him is more, is he gonna, put the time in to get better shooting the basketball? Because that's gonna be like he's fine now, but it's not gonna, I don't think it's really gonna translate currently the way he looks.
I think
and then two, like he is a little rigid. Like a lot of his post moves and just like when he drives, like he doesn't quite have that lateral quickness to my understanding, beat guys at an NBA level off the dribble. Like, for example, say he's matched up against like the Jason Tatums of the world. Like, I think Tatum wins that matchup every time. And so it's going to be guys like that. And sure, like not every night, like you're going to play the Pistons some nights and you're going to get by there. But like at the end of the day, when you're in the playoffs and you have to be the guy, that's where that scares me. So I'm a little nervous on that end, but at the same time, like he's really impressed me this tournament. He's taken over some games for Duke, especially because they have not won easily really at all this tournament. They've all been fairly close games, and he's pretty much been the reason they've won.
They beat the Hogs pretty handily.
They won by what, like 10?
That's a lot.
It was like 7 or 8, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, yes, it was a wire-to-wire win, and I did love the Hogs. They're so good at defense.
Looking at some of these other guys, like Keegan Murray, I think is going to be a lot like a Mikal Bridges.
I can see him being a little less athletic, maybe, but a little better on offense. Like a little, more able to create his own shot.
Yeah, he's more of like a post-up forward than a 3-and-D wing.
Right. I think he can be that.
He still shoots the lights out some games. There are games where it's like 8 for 10 from 3, 30 points.
No, I totally agree. I think just like a lot of these guys, I think for the most part, I think Chet improved his draft stock. Jabari Smith, pretty much stayed the same. Paolo improved his. Ivy improved his. Keegan Murray definitely, I think, just from the Big Ten tournament improved his. And then obviously they lost in the first round. AJ Griffin probably stays about the same. Then I think
Shaden Sharp's not even playing.
Right.
There's the guy from Arizona, Mathurin.
He, I think, helped his stock. Johnny Davis hurt his. He did not look great.
I think Johnny Davis is going to be like James Bouknight, where everyone was so big on him because he has this ability to create his own shot, but I don't think it's NBA ready. And I think he's going to struggle to find minutes early.
And I think that's why I like him, is because there is something about him where I'm like, all right, he has the right build. He's pretty good on offense. But you're exactly right. He can't really shoot. Like he definitely, I don't know.
He's not a great 3-point shooter. He's a mid-range pull-up guy.
Why can't he project to end up being like a solid role player in the NBA? Like just like a good solid starter. I think when you hit that, if you're picking 7 to 10, realistically, you're not getting the guy.
Yeah,
is my guess. In this draft, at least.
I think there are guys you could draft ahead of him that would make me feel more comfortable. Like Jalen Duren, I would much rather have him than Johnny Davis.
Except you get into the issue of the traditional center in the NBA, and like you are just getting a role player.
Duren's a rim runner. I'm thinking he's going to end up being like a Jarrett Allen.
Yeah, maybe actually, but even so, then like, I mean, I guess that's fine if you're picking somebody.
The guy to Kansas, I can't say his name. Oshay Agbaji.
Yeah.
I like him. I think he's just a scoring guard, and I feel more comfortable with him than I do with Johnny Davis. And the reason why Johnny Davis goes ahead of him is because Johnny Davis is 20, whereas Agbaji is a senior. He's like 22, 23. So
yeah, I mean, but at the same time, like I think that does matter. You know, you have 2 extra years of NBA development when you're drafting younger guys. So like, I get it. And so it's kind of like Duarte last year, where I really didn't like him and I was hoping he'd fall and the Knicks wouldn't take him even though they loved him. Like, yeah, he's a great player, but you do also like, if we're even debating 2 players and one of them is 2 years younger, like I would much rather take the one who's 2 years younger, figure that 2 years from now, he's gonna be better than the way the other guy looks right now. So I'm taking the young guy 10 times out of 10. 9 times out of 10.
All right, and
discrimination in your hiring.
Last thing I want to say about the draft or the college players. Ty Washington, who's supposed to go 12th overall with the Knicks, according to Tankathon, don't like him. Really don't want him to go to the Knicks.
I don't like him either.
Kentucky point guard sounds great, but the way he played in the tournament and the fact that he struggled for most of the year to find any type of rhythm concerns me.
I more blame that on Calipari.
I don't think Calipari's a great coach.
They continually underperform with a ton of talent on the roster.
I think he's a recruiter, not a coach.
Totally. And he's a big enough name. Kentucky's a good enough school that players are always going to go there. But look, right. I mean, they never do well. Like, they really never do. And so
I feel like they're like a perennial Sweet 16 team. I feel like if they don't make it there, it's kind of an upsetting season. But at the same time, like if they move on past that, it's like, ooh, like are they really that good?
Right. So, exactly. And that's why, like, I think with this team, he did not coach them well. Like, what's his name? Shibwe or whatever the center's name is.
Shibwe?
Yeah. Like, that dude is an absolute beast. There's just, and like, again, not to take it away from St. Peter's, like, they had no business losing to that team. Their team is so much more talented. And, like, the program has so much more money. Like, facilities are better. There is no excuse other than coaching.
Kentucky missed, like, 7 of 8 free throws in overtime.
Yeah.
And that's why they lost that game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was really bad. Yeah, no, I don't like him either. But it'll be interesting to see what the Final Four and, like, I don't know, if Paolo pulls off like some sort of like Final Four and then championship win all on like his back. Does he move up?
I think if Duke wins and Paolo has good interviews, he's first. What are you gonna say?
Wow.
To me, it seems like the top 4 is set, and it seems like it's going to go in that exact order. It's going to go Chet, Jabari.
I don't
Smith,
think so. I think a lot could change.
Paolo, Jaden Ivey. I think that. I mean, am I missing someone blatantly in the top 4? I think those are the 4, and I don't really see it changing.
I think Jaden Ivey's. I think the top 3 are. I think Chet is the best prospect. And then Jabari Smith and Paolo are about the same. And then Jaden Ivey at 4. And then you have a bunch of role players like 5 through 10. And then after that, like iffy. Like some of these guys could be good. Some of them might not be.
And I'm starting to come around to the idea, like I don't personally see the Chet Holmgren thing just because I would be really nervous about how sickly he looks and how that is going to translate to getting boxed out in the NBA, you know? I really don't know, but if he's really going to become this perennial, like
he's so lanky,
you can't stop his mid-range jump shot like Kevin Durant, you know, that type of thing. Then
I mean, he's a better poker.
I think half of his skill set. No,
he is.
I think his floor is Poku, but I don't think he'll ever be like that. I think Chet has a very good feel for the game. I think Jabari Smith. I was watching some like Auburn highlights one morning. I think Jabari Smith like makes really good, quick decisions. There's never a moment where I don't feel he's moving the ball properly, whether that's like just driving or throwing the extra pass or taking the right shot. I think he does a very good job of that. And then on top of that, he's very good at posting up and shooting over people. So
are you seeing like Evan Mobley upside there with him? I mean, is that a comparison he's getting?
I think Jabari Smith's more like Jason Tatum.
Whoa. So he's not this –
a little bigger, but yeah, like it is. It's something in the middle of those two, I'd say. Because Mobley's definitely more physical.
Mobley's a center. Jabari will never play center.
Yeah. I don't think so either.
It's interesting. And I think this is – everyone was talking about like Cade last year and what this draft to me feels beefier and really, really exciting. Like I feel like there hasn't been –
the draft last year?
Cade was 1.
Cade, Jalen Green. Then did Mobley go 3rd?
Yeah. Mobley 3rd.
Yeah. Cade, Jalen Green, Mobley, Scotty Barnes, Jalen Suggs, Josh Giddey, Kuminga, Franz Wagner, Davion Mitchell, Zaire Williams, James Bouknight, Josh Primo, Chris Duarte, Moses Moody. That was the lottery.
Really not a bad draft.
No. Not a terrible draft, but like
not an exciting one. Like this one's a little more exciting.
Maybe. As of now, it's not. But I think, like, honestly, a lot of these guys have shown, like, Cade has really shown flashes that he can be the guy on a team. And then
Scotty.
Mobley, obviously, Scotty Barnes, like all these guys, you're starting to see
But
it.
Jalen Green struggled a lot this year. Jalen Suggs has not been consistent at all.
But aren't those
Josh
just like
Giddey's
you
looked
play
really
for
good.
garbage teams and like you're in bad situations?
I don't know. Jalen Suggs has like 3 people ahead of him in the depth chart, I feel.
Yeah.
So, especially because like Markelle Fultz is on like a 4-year, $60 million contract. So,
Well, that's the other
not
thing
really
too.
sure.
I keep seeing Jaden Ivey getting mocked to the Magic, and I'm like, why would they ever take a guard?
never. They should never do that. And if
Yeah.
he gets drafted by the Magic, I'm literally going to cry myself to sleep.
I'd be shocked. There's no way.
I think Jonathan Kuminga was a good pick. There's definitely been times this year where I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Franz Wagner to the Magic, I think was a good pick, but I don't think he's ever going to be that exciting. Davion Mitchell, like again, struggled a little bit in Sacramento. He looked really good playing against like G League talent, but
He's been good on defense, but then on offense, there's not much there.
he's been Zaire Williams, he's played decent, but needs more time. I'm happy that he's getting playing time, especially because this Memphis team is so young and they're going to make the playoffs, which I think is good for his development.
Totally.
James Bouknight barely played, picked 11th overall. I don't even know if he's played an NBA game yet. He has, right?
He definitely played preseason, and then I think a little in the beginning of the year. I don't know if he's been playing recently though. I don't think he
played 28
has.
games this year.
Oh, okay,
he started 0 of them.
Yeah, no, of course not. That team's
5
pretty
points in
deep,
10
so
minutes.
it's not surprising. Yeah,
it is really deep. They're very young, and especially if you're going to put so much into a guy and draft him 11th overall, I just like expect him to be in the rotation, even if it's 10 minutes a night, 15 minutes a night.
But think of their context. And now, so we'll transition a little bit from the draft into like the actual NBA. Look at their situation right now. They're currently tied with the Nets for the 8th spot. They literally have the exact same record, and they have the tiebreaker over Brooklyn after beating them yesterday. So as much as you want to play young talent when you're in that situation, you also want to try and command that spot, because if you want to be the home team, you want to be the 8 or the 9, or excuse me, the 7 or the 8 in the play-in, because then you have 2 cracks at getting in. And so I personally think that they can't risk it, especially not at this juncture in the season. Like, they need to play the guys that are going to get them wins, that are going to keep them in that 8 spot.
Why, like, okay, they have Isaiah Thomas on a bunch of 10-day contracts. Why are we signing Isaiah Thomas to a bunch?
He signed one that he did for the rest of the season. Apparently they liked his leadership and whatever on the team, but
sure. But I mean, you have other guys on the roster I feel can step up and kind of be a leader. Kelly Oubre Jr. has been around the league for a while. LaMelo Ball is your best player. Terry Rozier has been around in the league for a little while, right? Why not just play Bouknight as your backup point guard?
Maybe there's something you don't know. Like, maybe he stinks.
Yeah, maybe. That's probably the case.
Maybe they're like, wow, he's a bust and his attitude's bad. Like, I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure, but I look at that, and that's why I'm like, yeah, in theory, you'd like for them to do that more, but I understand why they're not. I think I've kind of had that issue with, and again, not to make everything about the Knicks, but I've had that issue with them, but they're at least in no man's land. So like Tibbs playing older players over younger players doesn't make sense in that case. Whereas for Charlotte, you're at least competing for something. So it does at least make a little more. But you're right. Like, obviously you'd like to see a little more time, especially on a younger roster. Like, no, they're not winning a championship this year. So like, as long as you're in the play-in, do you kind of sacrifice a couple wins, just have like the 9 seed in the play-in and hope that that's enough? I don't know. Like, I still think that you'd rather put yourself in a position to get a series in the playoffs rather than just in the play-in. And if you look at it like this, like, Cleveland is the 7. So if you're the 8, you just have to play Cleveland. They're beatable. Like, they're only, I think, 2.5 games ahead of the Hornets right now. They've kind of fallen off. I would much rather play them.
Cavaliers have a lot of injuries, and
right. And the Hawks are the 10. And again, the Hawks are not great, but in a single game, yeah, they're scary. They're scarier than, in my eyes, than Cleveland. So I think so. To knock me out in one game.
100%. I think go, Mike.
No, you go, Luke.
I mean, I hate to make this about New York again, but Trae Young just really hates some teams, likes
Oh
to
my
score 40
God, I
points here
know.
and there.
Good for
So
him though.
I'm scared for Trae Young. I'm scared of Trae Young, not for him. But
Yeah,
Yeah, and he
I think
loves
if you were,
the big moment.
and I think if you were Charlotte, yeah, if that's who we're using as an example, I don't think you want to play the Hawks. I would rather play the Cavs than the Hawks.
And it seems like it's not going to be the Nets in real. There's not enough games left. Like there's only 7 or 8 games left. It seems like they're either going to end up playing the Cavs or the Hawks because I think it's just a question of whether or not the 8-9 flip rather than anything else. The only other thing I could see happening is the Raptors falling into the 7 and the Cavs somehow climbing back up into 6. And then it's a toss-up. I don't know who you'd want to play. The Raptors are solid, but so are the Hawks. Again, in that situation, you're still probably not playing the Nets. So I don't know.
You sent an interesting post on a Twitter chat like a couple of minutes ago. I guess it's been more than a couple of minutes ago, but you sent the MVP leaders, the top 6 guys: Embiid, Jokic, Antetokounmpo, Doncic, Booker, Tatum.
Oh yeah,
I thought that was interesting. I mean, first off, I didn't realize the Celtics had moved all the way up in the first in the East.
It's amazing.
It's such a shame Time Lord is hurt. It sounds like he towards MCL or meniscus or something like that.
I think it was the meniscus. I think you also sent that.
So he's gonna miss the rest of the year. Like you're not coming back from that.
But it's not like Al Horford's a bad replacement.
No, but part of the reason they've been so good is because of their defense with him. The way that they've been using him as like a paint protector, and it's such a shame. Yeah. And not to go back, but if you remember at the beginning of the season, I said like if we could easily see the Celtics making some sort of jump now that they changed coaches and whatever. I don't think Udoka is getting enough credit in the coach of the year conversation. He literally took the Celtics from missing the playoffs last year to being number 1 in the East. And then obviously this injury is going to set them back. And I think it's good that Tatum's finally getting into the MVP conversation because he's taking a jump too. He's averaging career highs in a couple different stats. So like they have shown growth, like significant growth, especially year over year. But so
within the same season, I thought they were terrible at the beginning. I was like, this Celtics team is
awful. January they were bad.
Terrible. Yeah. And I think it really does hinges on like what you just said, Matthew. Tatum finally kind of being what he needs to be. His stats have been insane, at least for points. And then it sounds like Jaylen Brown is finding a snug fit next to him. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
I think it's the smartest thing to just the only way through is through, and you have these 2 really good people, really good players get through this weird awkward stage, and then they're both going to be good. The fact that they didn't trade Jaylen Brown is what I'm saying, or like try to move it.
It was definitely the smart thing to do. I get why there were rumors that they had to because we all said it. They looked terrible. They looked like a complete. Even the 2 of them playing didn't look their best. So it was like, all right, this thing's going to shit. Right. They got to get rid of it.
How deep are they going in the playoffs? I'm getting my laptop charger.
Okay, so let's theoretically say, I'm going to say for argument's sake, the standings stay the way they are right now. And so if all things considered, that means that Brooklyn would be, I'm going to say, let's say Cleveland beats the Hornets in the play-in to be the 7, and then Brooklyn beats the Hawks, and then Brooklyn beats the Hornets. Brooklyn's getting into the playoffs.
Okay. So you're saying it's Boston, Miami, Milwaukee, Philadelphia, Chicago, Toronto, Cleveland, Brooklyn.
I'm saying yes, but just for argument's sake, because I think the Celtics are going to fall off. If they play Brooklyn in the first round, they are losing in the first round.
It's out.
If they
play the Hornets in the first round,
right? If they play the Raptors, maybe they're not out. If they play the Cavs, maybe they're not out. So I think it depends on their matchup. I don't think they're getting past the second round of the playoffs.
I to say they're not getting past any of the other top 4 if they ever have to play.
No, I don't think so.
They won't get past the top.
I would say there are 5 teams. They probably, I don't know. The Heat are good, although like Jimmy Butler's trying to fight Coach Spoelstra, so who knows? No, I mean, the Heat have the same record as the Celtics. And
Yeah, they're tied for first right now.
yeah,
But Boston
I
has
mean,
tiebreakers.
they're also on a 4-game losing streak.
Yeah, I think part of that has to do with frustrations within the team. Chemistry obviously matters a lot. So
I do though. I think they could win one. Maybe they do what the Hawks did last year and they can win two.
yeah, I don't think it was their year no matter what. I think with a new coach and trying to figure out the team, it just takes time. It's good that they're in the playoffs this year and they'll get a good first round matchup with somebody. And hopefully they can move on to the second round. But
right. I mean, they could easily, if you look at it this way, like they are currently tied with the Heat for that one spot. They just have the tiebreaker. Then the Bucks and Sixers are each just a half game back. Like realistically, they're falling to 4, maybe lower. Like the Bulls are 3.5 back, but like, so that feels a little insurmountable. So they're going to be through. The Celtics will be 1 through 4 somewhere.
Yeah. I like the Bulls at the beginning of the year, and then due to some of these injuries,
yeah, it's been brutal.
They've kind of fallen off a little bit.
They also have sucked against the top talent. They can't beat any of these top teams in the East. Or the
I just
NBA
think they need more time to mesh, and I think they need to fix some of the roster problems they're having.
Right. I think it's an off-season thing. I think that they've shown that they're going to be like a threat in the East, like at the bare minimum for the next like 3 years.
I think if they could bring in the right veteran talent off the bench, like if they had like a Jeff Green and like a vet point guard of some type, not like a Rondo, but like, you know, someone who can shoot and like facilitate a little bit, because the ball is going to be in Levine and DeRozan's hand most of the time. But I just think they need a little more size and depth at forward, and they need a sixth man point guard, because obviously Lonzo Ball will come back. I think Caruso's a great fit, but I don't think Kobe White gets it done.
They need like a Jordan Clarkson to come off the bench and get points.
Anyone needs a Jordan Clarkson to come off the bench and get points.
I know, but I'm just saying, like someone like that's more offensive minded, that like
sure,
yeah, is going to come in and can continue the offense when your better guys are out.
Yeah, I think they have enough better guys though to keep the offense running. I think Vooch needs to settle into a role where like, okay, you know, DeRozan's out. Now I'm playing a 2-man game with Levine, or Levine's out and now I'm playing a 2-man game with DeRozan. I think they just he needs to find rhythm within himself and his role. I think that's also another huge piece, because he's been majorly inconsistent throughout the whole year.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's more than fair.
I think there's times when it's like, wow, look at how great he is, right? And he has like a 20 and 15 game, shoots the ball insanely well. And there are times when he just can't buy a bucket, or, you know, and obviously defense has never been his strong suit, which is also why I think they need to find some size and depth. So they definitely need a defensive stopper at center. They need more bodies at center, and they need a forward.
Definitely. And I mean, kind of the same way we were just talking about the Celtics there, like it's not their year. Like I think no one expected it to be their year going into the season either. They've outperformed expectations, to say the least. And then you build for next season. You might win 2 playoff series, most likely just one, and then that's that. And you regroup and you try and figure it out for next year. But the rosters as constructed are not good enough to win a finals. I don't think so. Which is why in the East, I think it's legitimately just between the Heat, the Bucks, the Sixers, and the Nets. But
the Nets are such a difficult road to get there that I'm concerned.
The Nets might have to play all 3 of those teams.
I really think it's the Bucks or the Sixers. That's what I think it'll be.
I agree with Mike.
I don't know. That Nets team, I can't count them out. And if Ben Simmons comes back and they
I thought he was out for the year with a herniated disc.
He's out for the year? I thought it was just they extended his, like, he's not playing for a little bit.
Won't return.
Oh.
He won't return, yeah.
There we go.
So I think Simmons is out. But the fact that Kyrie's playing every game now, I think can make a huge difference. Obviously, the flashes, the games he's been insane. So
they lost yesterday,
he's back,
though. They lost to the Hornets yesterday.
The problem is,
they looked.
No, you go, and then I'll go.
The Nets looked unreal against the Sixers when they played after it was like that first game after the trade deadline, and Kyrie clamped Harden, and like Embiid was good, but not enough because Harden was just so garbage.
Here's the thing that doesn't matter. One game, regular season. It's no different than the way we talk about, oh, the Jazz are dominant in the regular season. It doesn't matter until the playoffs.
Sure.
Does not.
Sure.
For me, I feel like I look at the Nets and I think outside of Durant and Kyrie, and if you count Ben Simmons when he's not playing, like the rest of their team, I just don't think is that good. Am I right?
Seth Curry, I think, is solid.
And Drummond is solid for them. But like I don't know. I'm just not that crazy about their depth. Then this is my case for the Bucks is where I'm going. This is a long-winded case that I think the Bucks, at the end of the day, like you can't fake continuity and generational talent and team cohesiveness and fit. Like push comes to shove, yeah, the Sixers are good, but I think if things start going south in the playoffs and you have volatile people like Harden and Embiid, I could see that breaking down very quickly versus you have Giannis is a monster. Middleton, what was it against the Hawks? He had like 36 in that playoff game. It was a pivotal game last playoffs, and Middleton kind of took over.
I don't remember. He always has that ability, though.
And you have this consistent team of people who've given up. I mean, they're all role players, but they've all fit into their role very well. And then you add Serge Ibaka to that too. I don't know.
I was going to say, yeah, we were talking about that around the deadline, and then we kind of fell off. But now that they have, oh my God, what's his name coming back? The center. Oh my God, Brook Lopez. Good Lord. Now that he's back, you have so many unique looks that you can throw at teams. Like, especially you could go really big. You could go really big. You could go really small. You could go really fast with Giannis at center and still be fairly big. Like you have, like, it's just to me a very, very well constructed playoff roster. There's no one they can run into where I'm like, oh, they don't match up well. If anything, they force the mismatches now.
Yeah.
So, like, I can't think of a team. Like the only case you could make is who's going to guard Embiid. But like, who's going to guard Giannis?
Lopez is big.
Who's going to guard Giannis on that team? Like it flips the other way around. And so
I think if you're playing the Sixers, you throw Lopez in there and you're like, just do whatever you can.
Right.
And if you foul out, you foul out. We still have
Portis, we still have
Ibaka,
Bobby Portis. So, yeah. I think that's exactly what you do.
Yeah. I think that's true. And I just, they are so solid, and I'm jumping the gun here, but I don't see any way around, unless the only variable is the East. But I was looking at the West standings. I don't see a universe where the Suns aren't the team in the finals, to be perfectly honest.
Well, I think you look at the other top teams in that conference, and it's hard to make the case for anyone other than the Suns.
Yeah. So I think Bucks Suns. I think round two, I feel like, is almost inevitable, which is that to the dismay of NBA fans? Is it?
No, that's electric because the Suns are better than they were last year.
Yeah.
I think the reason why you can only make a case for the Suns is because of Steph Curry with that ankle injury.
Yeah.
So I think if the Warriors got Draymond back and Curry was healthy and they found a rhythm going into the playoffs, I think they'd 100% be able to challenge the Suns at some point during the playoffs. But now that Curry is going to be iffy, I'm not so sure if they're going to make it past the first or the second round.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I feel. Also, they fell into the 3 now. The Grizzlies are the 2. They're 4 games up, so I really doubt Golden State is going to get the 2. They're going to play the Nuggets in the first round. Realistically, it's going to be the Nuggets. I don't think the Timberwolves will pass them. Yikes. That's a terrible first-round matchup for the Warriors.
Yeah, I think Jokic will eat them alive. And I think if they can contain some of the guys on that perimeter, I think they'll be okay.
And if Steph's not back, and even if he misses like 2 games in that series, like that's a huge
just going down 2-0 is going to be tough to come back from.
Right. And I mean, look, I'm happy Clay's back. Clay has not looked like the old Clay.
Sure.
And like,
it takes time. It's a huge injury.
They're still good. It's not like I'm totally counting them out, but they might lose in the first round. And then if they do win that game as the 3, they're gonna have to play the Grizzlies. Yikes. So like,
yeah.
I don't know. I would be shocked. To be truly honest, I'd be shocked.
Jazz have fallen off a little bit. I think Mavericks Jazz are great.
It's a fun
First
first
round
round
matchup.
series. Yeah, it's a really fun series because
Yeah,
you
I'm
know
excited
Luca and Mitchell are just going to exchange baskets.
No, it's going to be Luca versus Gobert all series.
Yeah, fine. Then
Luca's going to be talking to Gobert. He's going to be like, "You can't guard." It's going to be
Oh,
so
that's
good.
right. And they got in that fight in that one game too.
They
I
did,
forgot
yeah.
about that.
Luca. Oh man,
It is fun. And then I think you look at the teams in the play-in in the West. Timberwolves are fun. Like I think they will probably get in. They're gonna be the 7 unless they can somehow catch the Nuggets.
Timberwolves in the playoffs is insane. I never thought I'd see the day.
Here's the thing: are they definitely in? So they're gonna be the play-in. They're gonna be the 7 in the play-in. First round, you got to play the Clippers. It came out today that Paul George might play this week. So you're going to have a few games to get back before the play-in. And the Clippers, we've said it, don't look bad. And throw Paul George in there. But Michael, I know you're making a face. Like, I'm not saying they're winning the championship, but they could beat the Timberwolves.
I actually think the Timberwolves would beat the Clippers.
I mean, I think probably, but I don't think that's a guarantee.
Game, baby.
If Paul George is there, how do you say no?
Yeah, I guess.
That's locking people up.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
but Reggie Jackson, BC's finest.
No, that's been another one of my favorite things about this season is Cat like kind of waking up a little bit.
Oh, it's awesome.
What the hell?
I think he should be all NBA for sure.
And it makes this Minnesota team really probably what people were expecting for years, maybe. I don't know.
I think it was. I think this is what they had in mind when they had Wiggins and Zach LaVine on that team. They just didn't let it materialize or grow at all. And they stripped it down.
I think they have 3 players who can get a bucket. D'Angelo Russell is a bucket. Karl-Anthony Towns is a bucket. Anthony Edwards is a bucket. And then after that, they just have shooters and guys who like to play defense. Patrick Beverley obviously likes to play defense. Jared Vanderbilt has been a really great defender all year. They have Malik Beasley, who's a good shooter. They have Jalen Noel, who's looked pretty decent when I've seen him play. Naz Reid, who's from New Jersey.
Yeah,
he's from South Jersey. He's pretty solid. He's a good backup center. Jaden McDaniels, don't know much about him. I know he's from Seattle, but
they're 10 games over 500.
I just think they have a good roster.
Like, they're 10 games over 500 and firmly in the 7 spot, maybe the 6. For argument's sake, let's say they lose to the Clippers and they have to then play the next play-in game.
Pelicans or Lakers. They can beat the Lakers. Oh, God.
Is it definitely the Lakers? The Lakers are only a game up on the Spurs right now. They are.
Is LeBron gone? Let me ask you that. Is LeBron gone?
But I don't know. Is he ever going to demand a trade? Like, I don't think
he'll demand a trade, but there's no way he comes back to this team. The Lakers are such a dumpster fire.
It's going to be a weird offseason, but yeah, they blew a 20-point lead to the Pelicans yesterday. Like, this is just inexcusable, and that directly dropped them into the 10. And so the Pelicans passed them. And look, again, not to get it sounds Paul George-y again, but Zion's been practicing. Maybe he comes back for the play-in. I know. I'm guessing not.
No chance.
I'm guessing not. I'm just saying I've seen it reported, so you don't know.
According to ESPN, they're starting Jackson Hayes and Jonas Valanciunas.
Kind of electric. Just throwing some size out there.
Good for Jonas. He's been kind of a beast.
Yeah. He was really good on the Grizzlies, too. I was
happy for him.
Yeah. He's been honestly good everywhere he's gone. Even on the Raptors, he was solid.
He's a lot like an Andre Drummond.
It's interesting, though. I think the West playoffs will proceed maybe besides the Golden State Denver matchup in the first round. Let's say this holds as chalk. I think everything's going to kind of happen chalk, and the Suns will get there. The East playoff to me is the more fascinating one because I think it's a little bit more even. But
I think I agree with you. The East is so even, whereas the West is like, okay, we kind of know who's good and who's bad.
I mean, the East play-in is kind of funny too. Funny looking. The West play-in is just bizarre looking to me. Like Minnesota.
I think there are far more better teams in the West, but there are so many good teams in the East, right? The West is like, we have a bunch of great teams and we have a bunch of okay teams, whereas the East is like, we just have a lot of good teams.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think it's that's the thing. The East is so top heavy where it's like, okay, like these 3 or 4 teams are clearly like they could win the finals if they get in. The West is like, all right, I could really only see the Suns beating any of those Eastern Conference teams. But the rest of them are good. Like I think they could easily trip teams up. Like those series, like Mavs, Jazz, Warriors, Nuggets, Timberwolves, Grizzlies. Like I think all of those are 7-game series. Like they have potential to go that long. Whereas in the East, you are not seeing that in the first round. You're going to see teams win 4-1, 4-0 in some cases. So I think
it really depends who comes out of the play. Like if you catch the Brooklyn Nets out of the play-in, that's going a while.
But let's say it's the Celtics. I think it's 4-0 Nets or 4-1 Nets
against the Celtics.
Maybe.
What happened last year? Didn't they play each other in the first round last year?
I think that could go.
Yes.
I think that series could go 6 if it happens.
Yeah, maybe. Fine. But like
I don't think the Miami Heat are gonna get tripped up by the Cavs or the Hornets.
Right.
I think the Bucks are gonna run through the Bulls or the Raptors, whoever they play.
Right. Whoever gets the Cavs. Like I just think it's gonna be those top teams are gonna beat up on whoever they have in the first round, and then it gets weird. Then it's gonna be like a weird 7-game close series. Because let's say, for argument's sake, it is the best 4 teams in the East, and you have some combination of Heat, Bucks, Sixers, and Nets in the second round.
Yeah.
Like, those are going to be ridiculous series. Like, I couldn't tell you who would win those. You could match up all of them, do all theoretical matchups, and I don't know if I could tell you who would win each series. Like, I think it's a legitimate toss-up. Whereas in the East, or in the West, rather, you go and you say, okay, let's take our best 4 teams. Like, I think it's going to be the Suns and then maybe the Grizzlies or Warriors, whoever wins that series. But, like, it's the Suns.
Yeah.
They've been the best team all year. They stayed good without Chris Paul, which is freaking crazy. Like, they've been so dominant. So, I don't know. Like,
they got a squad.
That said,
by the enthusiasm of Monty Williams.
I am just excited for the last 7 games because I think a lot could shake up. I think it would be electric if the Lakers fell out of the play-in. It would be unbelievably funny if they fell out. But that said, if they're in, it's also entertaining. Like I would gladly watch LeBron and Anthony Davis and Westbrook on the bench for that play-in game. Like that would be entertaining. I think you look in the Eastern Conference, like where the hell are the Nets going to end up? Are they in the play-in? Are they going to lose a play-in game and not make the playoffs? Like all that stuff to me is, what do you mean no chance?
KD and Kyrie dropped 50 in a play-in game.
It's 1 game though.
Exactly.
One of them's off in 1 game.
Exactly. Those guys don't have off days. They show up. They're ready. It's easy. It's easy for them.
That being said, it would be electric, and I'd love to see it personally.
But that's why I'm excited. Like these last 7 games, like no, they don't matter in the grand scheme of things because like everything is kind of set. But there's like a few things that could tweak around here or there where you're looking at like, Brooklyn's the 9 right now. They're gonna have to play 2 games to get in versus, all right, they move up, they only have 1, they're home for it.
Not even worried about it.
And then 2 games to get in, and then you have to play the Heat. Right?
That's what I mean. Like it's or like the Bucks in the first round. Can you imagine? Like it's just crazy to me.
It also sucks ass for the Bucks though. Like
totally. 100%.
That you drew the short straw if you have to play the Nets as the 2. Like the whole this whole thing is fucking crazy, and it has a lot to do with Kyrie not playing. This whole season's been bizarre, but in a cool way. And I don't know.
I love it.
Yeah.
All right. Do we want to end on a Knicks rant?
All right. Do you have one?
No,
You're gonna let me.
You have one.
So I'm gonna tell you something, Luke.
I'm sure Mike has comments too.
I have been liberated recently.
Okay.
I just haven't been watching. I gave up. I'm watching other teams play basketball. I'm not watching this terrible team like take years off my life because they play Alec Burks 35 minutes a game. So I gave up. I think Randall finally stopped playing for a couple games. Obi got in, played well. It's like everything the fans want to have happened has been forced to happen, not because Tibbs chooses to let these things happen. And when they do happen, good things happen. They win games. They're on a 3-game win streak. Like, Tibbs is so bad, but I feel free because I have just seen the highlights. I've just seen the Twitter commentary after the fact. I haven't watched any games. That said, they play tonight. I haven't watched them in a while. I think I am going to watch their game tonight.
Okay.
So, yeah, Dishing and Swishing is going to be tweeting tonight, I think.
I'm going through the Dishing and Swishing feed right now.
I'm sorry. Yeah, you're going to see there haven't been many tweets. Because
last time you tweeted was the 22nd.
See?
6 days.
Look at that. 6 days without a tweet. Usually there's like 400 in between 6 days. So
yeah.
There's been bliss in removing oneself from watching.
It was also, like it coincided nicely with the NCAA tournament. Like it was just like, all right, this season's over. I'm tired of this garbage. I'm not watching. Right?
I think any relationship you need a break.
The new season of Survivor started. That's my Wednesday night. I don't know. Like I just gave up. Screw it.
But
for the one takeaway is RJ Barrett just continues to look really good. And I think that's amazing. Keep rolling.
He's a star.
Love RJ.
Yeah.
Star J Barrett.
He is the most I don't want to say disrespected because I don't think it's that. I think he's just underappreciated player in the NBA because he is I think for players 21 years and younger or 22 and younger, he has scored the most 30-point games this season. No one talks about it. Yeah. He's been an absolute monster. And if you take out his first 10 games, he's been even better. Those stats are skewed because he was so bad to start the year. It's nuts.
After the All-Star break, he's averaging 26 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal a game.
Wow. And that's like NBA All-Star.
40% shooting, 32 from 3.
Yeah. And that 3-point shot is even low for him. He's been better. He's had stints where he's been much better than that.
I think some of it is him trying to get it going a little bit from 3, and he's kind of firing. I also think he shoots them because he knows if he shoots them, people are going to try and step up on him, and it gives him the ability to get to the basket.
100%. Yeah. And that's the thing though. It's been nice not having to worry about this. I've seen, all right, another good game for RJ. Obi played well when Randall was out. Quickly's been on a tear for the last 15 games. The stuff that I want to hear is happening. I don't have to look at Tibbs' dumb face. It's been a very nice little I don't want to call it a vacation from the Knicks, but a nice little, all right, I distanced myself, a little break for the relationship, and I'll come back. I'll watch from time to time. Next season for sure. Summer League, the draft, I'll be there. But yeah, this is my I don't know, whatever the stages of grief are, this is where I'm at in mind.
Matthew's bags under his eyes look a little bit better. I think it's probably.
Well, I was up watching the Oscars yesterday, so after Will Smith slapped a guy, I gotta. That's me with Tibbs. Play the case.
All right. Five stages of grief: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance.
Acceptance. I think. Yeah, I think that's we've hit it. We've hit it. It is what it is. But all right.
What were you gonna say, Mike?
No, I mean I'm watching acceptance happen before our eyes.
We've unfortunately reached that point. But all right, yeah, Michael, I know you had to run, so we can wrap this puppy up. It was good getting back to the Hoop Troop. We'll obviously record more frequently as we head into the playoff season. But yeah, so this is the Hoop Troop podcast. Thanks for joining and tune in next time.